Companies in the minerals supply chain face particular risks, depending on where you source. Customers expect you to manage these risks by conducting due diligence. Your due diligence should be carried out through your company's management system. Your management system defines your policies and procedures for sourcing responsibly and monitoring your performance. It provides information to show your customers that your due diligence effectively controls the risks. Here, we'll focus on the parts of a management system that every company must put in place to meet the joint standard, and how to report on your due diligence. The report shows stakeholders the risks you identified and how you're controlling them. Every company in the mineral supply chain must report each year. Any company can have its system independently audited, which is increasingly expected. But if your company has been identified as a key point in the mineral supply chain, an independent audit is required by OECD. It assesses that due diligence meets the joint standard. Every company in the mineral supply chain is expected to do due diligence. The joint standard defines what's expected of your management system. It should be built on shared principles and have all the elements required in the standard. Your due diligence process is ongoing, and companies are expected to make improvements over time. You should always work in good faith and make all reasonable efforts to implement due diligence. Your management system should look at all risks and take actions to reduce the likelihood of them occurring. Because ultimately, your company is responsible for the quality and success of your due diligence activities. Your management system should engage suppliers, especially artisanal and small-scale mining operations. When possible, you should positively influence them and ensure their own due diligence isn't overlooked. In this module, we outline the elements that you may need to develop or add to your system to align it with the joint standard. Likely, most of them already exist to some degree within your site. In that case, you can use your existing systems and complement those as needed. We'll look at the policy, procedures, and grievance mechanism. Set a policy that commits to the OECD's 5-step due diligence process. The policy states that you identify, assess, and respond to any risks, even if you're not in and don't source from a conflict-affected and high-risk area. It should refer to or explicitly state the risks in the OECD guidance. The policy could be a separate policy or part of a code of conduct or human rights policy. Make it available to the public by posting it on your website or another site. Include the date when it's in effect. To put your policies into effect, establish procedures and assign people to carry them out. Here are some of the key aspects in defining your procedures. Choose someone to be responsible for the management system. Employees should know who that person is. Due diligence affects all areas of the company, so all departments should be involved in the system. Define roles so that everyone knows their responsibilities. For example, when warehouse staff weighs incoming material, they need to know what kinds of discrepancies to look for. Or when the purchasing team enters into contracts with suppliers, they need to understand the requirements beforehand. Integrate your procedures into tools commonly used in business, like key performance indicators. When you identify risks that are not fully addressed, develop improvement plans. Document how you developed the plans and why you prioritized those issues. Gather the key information about your suppliers. You should know where they do business, what do they source and sell, and who are they. Gather data about the material. Track it coming in and throughout the process with a material accounting process. Work with suppliers on responsible sourcing, in the same way you do for the quality and price. Put it in supplier agreements. Ask them about it when you communicate with them. If you're a mining company and you don't get any material from external sources, you don't need to conduct supplier due diligence. You just need to make sure that no external materials get into your operations. Look for any opportunities for such materials to get in, then prevent that from happening. For example, are there other mine sites next to your mine? They might be small or artisanal mines. Do your materials have to travel from the mine site to another site in your operations? If so, there might be some point along the way where other materials could enter. Have you identified such points? Are there physical barriers in place to prevent entry? How are they monitored? If employees have a concern, there should always be a grievance mechanism in place for them to report it. Expand this mechanism so that other stakeholders inside and outside the company can report anything that violates your policy. It's not enough just to have a whistleblower policy. You have to provide a way for them to communicate with you. You can use existing industry grievance mechanisms, but make sure you have a process to receive, review, and respond to those relevant to you. Your management system may not solve everything, but it should be continuously improving. Set targets for improving and monitor your progress in reaching them. That shows that you're acting in good faith. Everyone in the supply chain has to report on their due diligence each year. Use a standalone report or include the information in your annual report or sustainability report. The report should have these key items. Put your policy or a link to the policy in the report so stakeholders can read it. Describe your management system. Include descriptions of every component that we described in this course. Explain how you review suppliers and shipments for red flags. This will be discussed in the next module. By developing an effective management system and reporting on your due diligence, you can meet the joint standard and assure your customers that you source minerals responsibly.